This broadcast is brought to you by Colby Brooks with Century 21 Right Pace Real Estate and buyfrombrooks.com. Let Colby Brooks handle all of your real estate needs. Breaking news today on NEA Report, a lawsuit filed in Jonesboro centered around Sharp County, alleging that the district judge and the sheriff violated a woman's civil rights by replacing her with someone half her age. But the reason for the replacement is an even more stunning allegation, because according to the lawsuit, it was done because the judge wanted lap dances. That's what the lawsuit is alleging. And we'll talk about that lawsuit in full detail next. Context and perspective coming up on NEA Report.
Reporting.
Thanks for joining us on NEA Report. You've got it locked on the most accurate news source across Northeast Arkansas, the one that's going to tell you the truth no matter who it makes mad. It's Stan Morris right here with you tonight in a case that's interesting out of really, it's not just Sharp County that this could affect, because there's a race going on right now for judge that this has further implications in. But the lawsuit, which was filed in Jonesboro, is centering around Sharp County tonight. It's a discrimination lawsuit that alleges the judge and sheriff both violated the law by violating a woman's civil rights. In the lawsuit, and we're going to show you the full thing here in a couple of seconds. We'll show you the full lawsuit, and we've also got a response from the district judge that was facing some serious allegations in this suit. So we'll have that coming up in just 1 second. It's a story about Mary Wanley, who expected to work until she was in her 70s, 74. She told me today that she's in her 60s, and she had already been with Sharp County in law enforcement for 15 years. But on September 9th of last year, she was fired. She was told by District Judge Mark Johnson, according to her, that she was being fired and that she had a day to resign or otherwise be terminated. The next day, she did not resign. She was terminated. She said the sheriff was actually the one who was supposed to be in charge of her potential firing or employment status, but the sheriff, according to the lawsuit, rubber stamped the decision by the judge. So why did the judge fire her? Well, that's up for debate, and we'll show you what both sides are saying about that tonight. It's two different stories. According to Wanley, she was discriminated against and fired because that she was being replaced by somebody half her age. Actually, less than half her age, somebody in their 20s with her being in her 60s. She also said that she was discriminated against constantly. She is a lesbian woman, and she has been at least honest about it. She says she does not flaunt her sexuality, but she says she's not going to be someone she isn't. And for that, she said she's faced discrimination since she's been at the Sharp County Sheriff's Department, including from two key people there. She said she did not name who those two key people were. I want to first show you the statement that just come in a short time ago from the campaign for the judge. As I mentioned, he's a judge right now, but he's also in a race running for judge as well. And so I want to make sure I get this up here first and foremost. This is a quote, and I don't have the quotation marks at the beginning for some reason there, but it says, Mary Wanley's frivolous lawsuit is full of outright lies. Miss Wanley was terminated for reasons, according to this is alleging, terminated for reasons of fraud and gross malfeasance. Ms. Wanley double-dipped by claiming to work at different departments at the exact same time and would often show up late for work and or leave early. For these and other documented reasons, she was terminated. The documented facts of her poor job performance will be presented in court if this ridiculous lawsuit ever makes it to trial. These last-minute veiled attempts to discredit a respected and long-serving judge are often the tactics of desperate people. That from Michael Cook. He is Judge Johnson's campaign spokesperson. The story is in full at neareport.com with that added to it, by the way, if you want to go check it out. We're going to be reading a lot from the story tonight. We'll also be adding other context and perspective. So, and some of the story we will be abbreviating as well. So if you're looking for more information, go to the site. You'll probably get it there. So, as I said, Wanley had worked there for a while. She said back in 2007 when she started, nobody would talk to her. As I mentioned, she's gay, and that's who she is. It's not who she chose to be. You wouldn't choose that in Sharp County. But Wanley instead found nobody would speak to her at first, but she did not care. She worked and worked until eventually, she said after lobbying for some time in 2012, she was sent to the police academy to be certified as a law enforcement officer. She was already working security in the court, but she wanted to get that added certification because of all the, well, I think as in one of the earlier stories of the Spring River Chronicle, because of how crazy it seemed like that the current world was. And so she did, and she graduated from Black River Technical College with that certification later that year. She said she was working as a bailiff and misdemeanor probation officer last year, through the time, of course, we had talked about to last year, when in September of 2019, she was called into Judge Johnson's office, and he told her she was being terminated. She said he had a stack of papers on his desk, and she asked him, "What have I done?" He responded, according to her, "I'm just tired of messing with you. You do real well for 4 or 5 months, and then you screw something up." She said she responded, "What have I done? I will fix it," but she said she could not get a response. Out of that stack of papers, one of the incidents, which by the way was also mentioned in the statement that was issued to us, or at least it would seem that that was mentioned in the statement, was related to an issue about showing up or double dipping at multiple departments. According to Wanley, she had worked at the Ash Flat Police Department and also, as many officers do, held other jobs at other local law enforcement agencies. She said whenever she, one day on a Friday, worked at Ash Flat, she had left her timesheet for the sheriff's department saying she worked Friday as well at the sheriff's department, but she had already submitted it by the time that she had been asked to come to work to Ash Flat. She said so. When she worked the following Monday at the sheriff's department, loudest noise that could have happened in the middle of the live stream, sorry on that, she said that she was able to go ahead and put in a vacation day and still work through it, offsetting what had happened on Friday. If what she says is accurate to that, that's a mistake that many businesses could see happen, or many workplaces could see happen, and a solution that, I mean, I actually had myself to one of those situations before, as far as with the timesheet mistakes. You just get the right number of hours in. But that was one of the things cited in that statement. Another issue that was brought up in the statement had to do with a rifle. Apparently, the sheriff's department called her to pick up her rifle, or a rifle. She brought it back to her office at the court, and it was not in a case. Somebody was alarmed. They contacted at least another law enforcement officer. They came, checked it out, but found everything to be okay. The rifle unloaded. And Wanley told me today that she even immediately, out of her own money, went to Walmart, bought a new case, and stored it right then and there. Even despite that, she said she was written up over this. She said she had a hard time out there, but she worked through it because she loved the work. All right. So whenever she tried to explain these things, she says the judge's response was that, and this is according to her, quote, "Stop talking, you're done. You've got till 2 o'clock tomorrow to turn in your resignation because you're fired." That's what she said she was told as she pleaded, "Please don't do this. I've got my retirement. I've got insurance. I've got benefits. I've got about a month of vacation days saved up." It didn't matter because the judge had made up his mind, at least according to her recollection of that conversation. As said earlier, the sheriff was the one that was supposed to make the decision, the final decision related to that. And according to Wanley, she initially had heard from the sheriff that she was going to be kept employed. She was told that there was going to be a little bit of stuff moved around, but basically the sheriff would find a way for her to continue to do court security and prisoner transport. Instead, that did not happen, because by the time she saw the sheriff at the next quorum court meeting, she apparently still expected him to side with her. Instead, she told me he just walked out whenever the meeting was over. And she said that he never did do what he told her he would do. She felt betrayed by him. And, of course, what happened with Johnson was, in her mind, a betrayal as well. So the next day, according to Wanley, there was a replacement hired in full uniform. And her replacement was, and I checked the replacement's Facebook page, it stated her birthday, 29 years old as of today. I believe 28 as of the time of hiring, based on this. I'm just realizing that now. Wanley's in her 60s, and she had much more experience, but she said within a mere few months, this replacement was being sent off to the police academy to train. something she had worked for years to try to get permission to do. She felt like it was a total betrayal. And she said in her quote, it's like someone coming in, shooting you, and walking off, stepping over you and saying, here's your job. She said that when I asked her if it felt like she was stabbed in the back. She said it was worse. So the lawsuit. Here comes the lawsuit out of this. And let's take a look at it. It's on the page. There's several different pages of it right now, but I want to show you 2 pages primarily because they're the most kind of important. They basically contain most of the important stuff. And the lawsuit filed on behalf of Miss Wanley by Luther Sutter of Sutter and Gillum in Benton, Arkansas. It makes some pretty stunning allegations. It alleges not only was she fired illegally in a discriminatory way, stating some of that, we'll go through in a minute, but it also alleges that the judge, I mean, it just says this, and we're trying to find out where this comes from. It said the judge wanted lap dances. I'll get to that in a second. That's, to me, still, I'm still struggling with that one, but okay. Lawsuit says, as you can see on the screen, let me take my name off of that so you can actually see some of the stuff at the bottom there that you might be missing. The plaintiff, a white female over the age of 40. According to that, she performed her job satisfactory, but was fired on the sheriff. It says September 5th there. I was told September 9th earlier today. The exact dates sometimes get mixed up like that. We're just going to say early September. Now, that's page 1. It's just mostly the basic stuff. It's page 2 that may be of more interest to you. Because you can see page 2. Let's make it a little bigger on the screen so you can get a better idea of what we're going to be talking about. See there, defendant Mark Johnson has said he doesn't want his security officers to be old, but young and pretty. If he said that, and there's a record of him saying that, that would be shocking. According to item 6, plaintiff was replaced by a less experienced individual under the age of 40 because the individual was younger and prettier, at least in the eyes of District Judge Mark Johnson. Number 7, so in an attempt to get rid of the plaintiff, Johnson fabricated reasons for her termination because he wanted a younger, prettier employee to perform lap dances for him in the office. That's the first mention of it. Number 7, because of plaintiff's age, Johnson, upon information and belief, would not have wanted plaintiff to perform lap dances for him. Nonetheless, performing lap dances was not an essential job function. Can't believe I'm saying that. Number 9, nonetheless, this is precisely what the district judge wanted, so he fabricated reasons to influence the defendant to terminate plaintiff. That's what the lawsuit is alleging. Now, there's a little bit more, and I'll bring the rest of it back up on the screen. But that's the most stunning part of this lawsuit with the allegations being made in it. Lap dance. I asked Wanley where that came from. She couldn't provide any information to me about that. She had no confirmed knowledge of it or something that she had seen. Nothing she could tell me. I sent an email to the attorney, Mr. Sutter. I'll check my email while we're talking right now, but as of last check, I've not received a response from him on that because I did want to know, where did this come from? Do you have some sort of evidence or a source that this allegation is based in? Because that is an incendiary allegation, suggesting that a judge would want a lap dance on county property is what it seems like the suggestion is there. Very unusual, not the kind of thing that you would expect to see. Nonetheless, let's go back to the story here and wrap that part of it up. Both Sheriff Counts and Judge Johnson are defendants in the case. Wanley said she's never had an issue with the judge before. She said she knew him since 1983, worked for him since 2012. She said she would put her life down for him and never thought that there was an issue between the two until the firing that happened. She's since gone on to find part-time employment as an EMT, which she said she was lucky to be able to find. And she said she didn't really want to file this lawsuit either. She did not seem like a fan of taking legal action in this instance, but she told me she didn't feel like she had a choice. She said, I've done everything in that courtroom, put 31 cameras in. She received grants, she said. She was responsible for outfitting the courtroom with certain bits of technology, and then she lost her job, her retirement, vacation time, insurance, and more. She said she had no choice but to pursue legal action, and that's where we are here. What is she asking for in the lawsuit? Well, she's wanting in the lawsuit a couple of things. I'll read them exactly to you. She wants her job back, according to that, although I did ask her a little bit more about that, and I'll discuss it in a second. She's also asking for front pay for the time she's missed, for an injunction that would forbid the judge from violating the law, allegedly, by doing this. She wants a jury trial out of this, and of course, attorney fees and such. I asked her, I said, so do you want to go back to work up there? And she said, to be honest, she probably couldn't. While the judge was there, she wouldn't feel comfortable. She said she would still like to, perhaps if he wasn't in his position any longer in the future. But she also brought up an issue with the sheriff. She said she doesn't feel like she can trust him at this point either. I did reach out to Sheriff Mark Counts and ask him if he would send us a statement. I sent him that through a text. I've not received a response back. But if I do, I will add it to the story at neareport.com. We did add the update that we received from the judge, and if you scroll down, I just want to kind of show you. Well, it's not showing up on that, so let's hit refresh. But if you take a look, whenever we add updates, right here, you can see it below this ad with the Gully Bail Bond Company. We add our updates, and we will put the text in bold and in red, and the time we added it, because it's important to know if you read this story at 5 and you didn't see it, that this update was added, as in this case, at 6. So that's added there. If other statements are sent to us by either the officer who replaced Miss Wanley or by the sheriff, then we will update after the fact and add those too. I'll go back one more time to show you what the judge's statement was, because it was referenced in this. It was also relevant to several allegations. The statement calls it a frivolous lawsuit. It says she was terminated for fraud, which is a serious allegation, by the way, and gross malfeasance. It also says the double dip part by claiming to have worked at different departments at the exact same time. I would be interested to know if it's possible, based on what that's saying, if it's possible Miss Wanley's explanation was applicable. But I can't ask that because we got a statement. But it's called a last-minute veiled attempt to discredit a respected and long-serving judge by the campaign spokesperson, who did send that along shortly before 5:30. It's a case that's been filed in Jonesboro District Court. It was initially being looked at it being filed, I believe, more in central Arkansas, and that was last week. It was delayed and ended up happening this week. And the case now is, will it go to trial or won't it go to trial? Well, you really can't tell until it actually happens. But whether it's settled or whether there's some type of dismissal or whether it does go to trial, it's an interesting case. It contains stunning allegations, and it's one that we'll definitely want to keep following here on NEA Report just because of the strong implications contained in this. Now, I've neglected the chat room the entire time, and I see a million different messages, so let me go here and take a look. I like to try to read your messages if you're in chat with us and you're watching live. We do appreciate you a lot for joining us on NEA Report, for liking and sharing this broadcast. If you think our work is worth a little bit of a like, well, it really would mean a lot more to us than you probably think. So looking in chat, Luke asked if I could do a story on how rough and poorly maintained county roads are in Sharp County. And I will potentially be able to at some point. But we just gave it a mention for you right there. So maybe somebody's going to pay attention and fix those potholes for you. Let's take a look. Yeah, some odd statements there about the lap dance, for sure. It's one of these things you got to question. Danielle Pfeiffer says, I feel like there's more to that allegation. It was so out of left field. Obviously, that has to be about the lap dance portion. And I have to know what that's from. If we're going to report on it, which we have today, I'm obviously going to give the judge the ability to deny that. But that an allegation like that, I don't know how an attorney can make it unless he has some sort of evidence. If he doesn't and he makes an allegation like that, that would be stunning to me. It would almost seem to be, and I'd have to ask my attorney friends about that, it would almost seem to be litigious if that took place. Just a question, another question for the court. Let's see. Melissa says, if they can transfer dirty cops around, why can't they transfer her? I don't have an answer for you on that. Danielle says they can prove this fraud. Another fair question. If Miss Wanley has been accused of fraud, we would assume there is proof of that somewhere. The statement was made by the campaign spokesperson about the allegation she committed fraud. According to Wanley and according to Tammy Eldon Curtis that I spoke to at the Spring River Chronicle, there was a rumor being floated around. In fact, the Spring River Chronicle had been told that there was an investigation going on into Wanley regarding fraud. There, according to Wanley, was never an investigation into her for fraud. If there was, we don't have records of that. Of course, we might not if we didn't request them, or if the investigation was completed and unfounded. It certainly never went to court, and if the police don't take it to court, then one would assume there was not a case, or there was a reason they didn't take it to court. So that statement, one has to wonder, yes, if there is some sort of proof, or maybe if we will at some point receive more about that, about what these supposed fraud allegations were. Several things on both sides that we need clarity on, right? You got to know what's going on with this allegation of a lap dance. Where did that come from? Because that does seem like it's out of left field, and that's a serious thing. Also, the allegations of fraud against somebody, it would be interesting to see why was she not investigated, and if that was the case, why were there never charges brought because of that? Words matter, so we'll see. So, and Liddell says, sounds like my ex. My goodness. You get a new ex. Don't date that person anymore, my friend. And Belinda says, I wonder if they had documented any problems they had with her. It's impossible to say without looking at the documents, for me at least, but of course when she walked into the office, there was that supposedly, at least according to her, there was a stack of large papers out there that I guess represented her personnel file and misgivings in the past that the judge had with her. So we'll keep following the case, and we will keep really trying to find out what the other parties might have to say about this, because if the sheriff or if the newer officer wanted to respond, I think that would be newsworthy to include and bring you an update in relation to that. But as for now, it's a case that is set of allegations only, and it's going to go to court and most definitely prove to be interesting, if nothing else, to find out where some of this stuff came from. So thank you very much for joining us on NEA Report tonight. We really do appreciate you for liking, sharing, and subscribing. It means a whole lot to us. And if you become a supporter, 99 cents, we do exclusive broadcasts every week. Exclusive broadcast just for supporters. Last week, it's Friday night usually when we do it. Last week, George Jared was a special guest to join us. Talked a lot about the Linda Collins Smith case and some other cases that have been going on with a lot of attention in Northeast Arkansas. 99 cents a month. It keeps the lights on, and it gives you access to some pretty neat exclusive content. We're already planning a special show this Friday with a special guest. I can't tell you who it's going to be yet because I haven't. Well, for two reasons, because it wouldn't be a secret if I did, and because I haven't finished getting them. But I've got a name in my head, so we'll see if that happens. Promise to have somebody for sure on Friday for supporters, and for the rest of you, we'll have more news for Northeast Arkansas all the way through the week here on NEA Report. We'll be back tonight if breaking news breaks out. That's when we'll break in, but we're hopeful it doesn't. So until then, thanks for joining us. Now you're up to date, and we'll do a little message from our political sponsors with all that good stuff going on. We'll see you next time on NEA Report.